These are the solutions to the 2015 procedural numeracy test for Year 7. Question 1. 248, take away 160, take away another 40. Now probably the simplest thing to do here would be to combine the 160 and 40 so that it actually becomes take away 200. And then what you have is 248, take away 200, which leaves you with 48 remaining. Now the second half of this question, 78 adds 75. Now I would partition this into tens and units and do the 70 and 70 to give you 140, and the 8 add the 5, which is the units, gives you 13. When you add those two together, you get a grand total of 153. Question 2, write 7/10 as a percentage. Now percent means out of 100, so the best way to do this would be to make an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. Now in order to do this, what we would need to do is to multiply the top and the bottom by 10. So if we multiply the top by 10, we get 70 out of 100, which is 70%. Question 3. Tom has £12.99 and Nia has £37.25. How much more does Nia have than Tom? So one way to do this would be to do a subtraction in columns with the £37.25 on top, the smaller number £12.99 on the bottom. But for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add on, starting with £12.99, and stop adding on when I reach the £37.25. This is another way of working out the gap between the two numbers. So if I start with £12.99, what would I need to add on to take me up to £13? Well, that would be 1 penny. So what I would do after that was to go from £13 to a really nice number, which would be £20 next. So to go from 13 to £20, I would add on £7. Now, if I want to go to a number reasonably close to 37, I probably would go to £30 next. So that's a case of adding on another £10. Then I would go to £37, and that would be adding on another £7. And finally, to get to the desired number, £37.25, I would need to add on 25p. So the total I've added on would come from these 5 numbers underneath, and what we can see is the £3 amounts come to £24, and the pennies, they add up to 26 pence, giving me an answer of £24.26. There are 30 girls and 50 boys. What is the ratio of girls to boys? And write our answer in the simplest form. So the ratio in its unsimplified form would be 30 to 50. Now what I notice is both these numbers are in the 10 times table, so if I were to divide them both by 10, that would make the ratio 3 to 5, and that is the answer in its simplest form. Question 5. What number is 1 less than a million? Well, a million is 1,000,000. So if we have 1 less than that, what we will end up with is 999,999. This baby weighs 7,580 grams. Write his weight in kilograms. So to turn grams into kilograms, what we need to do is divide by 1,000. So there are 2 different ways to go about this. I am a digit mover, so what I would do is I would move the digits 3 places to the right, making them smaller. So that's moving it once, moving the digits twice, and finally moving the digits 3 times. We would get 7.580, and we are allowed to leave out the 0 if we wish. If you put it in, it's also correct. Now, when I was a youngster and I was in school, I was taught to move the decimal point 3 places, which gives you the same answer. Question 7. The pie chart shows trees planted in an area. Now from the pie chart we can see there were 3 different types of tree, willow, oak and ash, and they had different size segments of the pie chart. So the information underneath the pie chart says that there were 60 trees planted in total. Now that is quite important to this question. 1/6 of the trees are ash. Okay, so I'm going to use that fact to fill in the part of the table for ash trees. So if it's 1/6 of 60, we would divide 60 by 6 to give us 10 ash trees. Now the next one I'm going to fill in is going to be the oak trees. Now if we look at the pie chart, what we can see is we have a 90-degree angle in the section for oak, indicating it is a quarter of the pie chart. So what I'm going to do is do a quarter of 60 for oak. So half of 60 is 30, and half that again is 15, so there would be 15 oak trees. Now I notice that in the question it says there were 60 trees in total. Those two numbers add up to 25. If I take the 25 away from the 60, that gives me 35 trees for willow. Question 8. 3 times blank equals 9 times 7. Now I know from my times tables that 9 times 7 is 63, so I'm looking for a multiplication on the left hand side to make 63, and the missing number is 3 times 21. Question 9. Costs are £4.95, £3.52, £11.45 and £3.99, and the question says to estimate the total costs. So what I would do here is round each of these numbers to the nearest pound, and the costs are as follows: £5, £4, £11 and another £4. And when we add those up, the first two numbers, 5 and 4, makes 9, 9 and 11 makes 20, and the final £4 gives us a grand total of £24. A train leaves Cardiff at 12:48. It takes 56 minutes to get to Swansea. At what time does it get to Swansea? Well, 56 minutes is nearly an hour. In fact, it's 4 minutes less than an hour. So the easiest way to do this question would be to add on a full hour and then take back and count backwards the 4 minutes. So if I add on a full hour to 12:48, it becomes 13:48. And then if I take the 4 minutes away, it becomes 13:44. Question 11. Write the number that is halfway between minus 16 and 8. Now this is also known as the midpoint, and the way to work out the midpoint of two numbers is you would first of all add the two numbers together, and minus 16 add 8 would give us minus 8, and then what we would do is we would half that number, and when we half that number it gives us minus 4, and that is the number that is halfway between minus 16 and 8. Question 12. Each lap of a running track is 400 metres. Gemma wants to run 2 kilometres. How many laps should she run? Well, what we would need to know here is we would need to know that 2 kilometres is really the same as saying 2,000 metres. And basically then what we're looking at is we're looking at how many 400s will we need to run in order to make 2,000. So I'm focusing my attention on the front of each of these two numbers. I'm basically asking myself how many 4s make 20, and the answer is 5 400s make the 2,000. Glyn is making concrete in this ratio: cement, sand, stones, in the ratio 1 to 2 to 6. So the question says Glyn needs blank kilograms of cement, 10 kilograms of sand, and blank kilograms of stones. So we need to focus our attention first on this middle number, the 2, which is the sand, and that links to 10 kilograms in the final statement. Now, ratio is all about multiplying and dividing to make equivalent answers. So how many times 2 makes 10? Well, that's 5 times 2. So our answer needs to be basically 5 times bigger than the initial ratio. So if we take the 6 at the end and times that by 5, that would give us 30 kilograms of stones, and if we take the 1 at the front and times that by 5, that would give us 5 kilograms of cement. 22.2 minus 2.22. Now, we could do this in the traditional way, which is a subtraction in columns, but a neat little trick to do this one is what we could do is change both numbers by the same amount, which would then make the difference the same as the original sum and hence give us the same answer. So what I noticed is that both these had a 2.2 in the number. So if I take away the 2.2 from each of those, that makes the first number become 20 and the second number becomes 0.02. And if I had 20 take away 0.02, it's going to give me 19.98. Question 15. Work out 5% of 960. Well, to do this, I would first of all work out 10% of 960 by dividing it by 10, and that gives me 96. And then I would work out 5% by halving that number, and that would then give me 48, and that is my answer. Reese faces east, so that's the direction indicated by the arrow. He turns anti-clockwise, which means he's going to go to the left, through 135 degrees. Which direction is he now facing? So what we really need to appreciate here is that we have 90-degree angles in the compass between, for example, north and east, and then north-northeast would be 45 degrees. So what we basically have, if we are going to move around 135, is we would go 45, and 45 makes 90. If we go another 45, that makes a grand total of 135, and that means that Reese is now facing north-west. Work out 12.23 multiplied by 4. So a strategy to multiply any number by 4 is to double and then double it again. So doubling 12.23 would be 24.46. And if we double that, we would get 48.92, which is our answer. Question 18. 0.63 times 5. So I would do 63 times 5 first of all, which would give me 5 3s are 15, and 6 5s are 30, and the 1 is 315. So the answer is going to involve the digits 315. Now, where is the decimal point going to go? Well, my 0.63 has 2 digits after the decimal point, which means my decimal point has got to go in 2 digits from the start of the number, giving us 3.15 as an answer. The second question, 7 divided by 0.2. Now, there are a number of different ways to do this, and what I will do is I will not do the division I've been given, but I will change both numbers by multiplying. So, if I multiply both numbers by 10, this division would change to become 70 divided by 2, which has an equivalent answer to the question I was given, but much easier to now work out. So 70 divided by 2 is 35. Question 19. Increase £36 by 10%. Well, 10% would be £3.60, but I have to increase the £36 by that amount. So if I add them together, what I would get as a grand total is £39.60. Question 20. This is a bid mass question. So the first thing I would have to do is work out the brackets. So the sum would become 4 times minus 2 plus 10. The next part of the calculation I'd work out is the multiplication. So 4 times minus 2 would be minus 8 plus the 10, which gives us a grand total of 2. Now in the second question, I would first of all work out the bracket. So the question would become 6 plus, and the bracket is 5 squared. Then I would work out the squared, so it would be 6 plus 25, and adding those two together gives me a total of 31. Question 21. Write the symbol less than, greater than, or equal in the boxes. So the first question, 45%, 0.45. Well, if we times that decimal by 100 to make it into a percentage, we will see that that is also 45%. So that would be an equals in the first box. Now, the second question. Well, 4/5 is 8/10, or 80 out of 100, which means that this right-hand side is worth 80%, which is in fact the bigger number. So I would put the symbol this way around. We often think of the symbol as being like a hungry crocodile, and we say that it eats the bigger number. Question 22. Write 0.666 recurring as a fraction. Now, this is one of these special fractions that's well worth you remembering. 0.11111111 recurring would be 1/9, 0.222222 and so on would be 2/9. So this one would be 6/9, or if you wanted to simplify it and divide both parts by 3, it would be 2/3. 648 divided by 24. So I will set out my bus stop division, and I will start writing down the 24 times table, maybe the first 4 or 5 numbers, and see how many we need. So 24, 48, 72, 96, 120. I'm going to stop there for a moment, but I may need some more. We'll see. So how many 24s go into 6? None. Carry 6. How many 24s go into 64? Well, the closest number without going over is the second answer, which is 48. Now that leaves us with a remainder of 16. So that means I do need to go a little bit further in my times table. So the next one would be 144, and the one after that would be 168. So how many 24s go into 168? And we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the answer is 27. Question 24. What is the area of this shape? So this shape is made of 2 rectangles. So the first thing I would do is split the shape into those 2 rectangles. I'm going to call the bigger rectangle A and the smaller rectangle B. Now, in rectangle B, I actually have the length and the width of that shape. But in rectangle A, what I have is the length of the top side, but I don't have this smaller width. So what I can do is I can use the 6 and the 2 that are already on the shape, and that tells me that the missing number is going to be a 4, because 4 and 2 centimeters make the 6 centimeters, which is the full height. So now rectangle A would be 4 times 8, which is 32. Rectangle B would be 5 times 2, which is 10, giving me a grand total of 42 centimeters squared. Question 25. 50 squared. Now this means 50 times 50. So 5 5s are 25, and then we add the 2 zeros, giving us 2,500. Second question. Square root 121. Now that's 11, because 11 11s make 121. And square root 36, which is 6, because 6 6s make 36. We add them together, and that gives us 17 as our answer. The numbers on the boxes show how many matches are in each box. The mean of the matches is 50. Work out how many matches are in the last box. So if we have a mean of 50, and we know there are 5 boxes, the total of all 5 boxes would be 250 matches. So if we add up the boxes that are there, what is that going to give us? Well, we have 49, 49, 49, and 52. So if we add that up, the first column, the units column, 3 9s are 27, and 2 is 29. Carry the 2. If we add up the tens column, 3 4s are 12, and 5 17, and the 2 is 19. So that's 199. And the difference between 250 and 199 is 51. So that's how many matches would be in the final box.